Hello, Year 5. Today we're going to be looking at millimetres and millilitres. So the PowerPoint's going to be pretty similar to the last two PowerPoints. So on some level there's going to be a bit of repetition, but we're looking at it in a different context today in terms of looking at a different capacity of measurement, okay? So what we'll do is we'll see how you get on with it this morning. So before we do anything, we need to pause the video. If you've got a timer or a watch or an iPad or a clock anywhere nearby, set yourselves a 5-minute timer, please. For questions A, C, and D, you should be able to do those mentally in your head. And then for B and E, see if you can have a go at using your written methods to help you. Okay, so pause the video and have a go. All right, then, let's see how well you did then. So A is 1,800, B is 522, C is 107, D is 4.5. I hope everyone got that one. And E is 31,705. So well done if you got all 5 of those correct. So let's warm your brains up a little bit then for fluency for our lesson today. So again, we're just looking at converting our units, which you've done for the last 2 lessons. So again, give yourself a timer, pause the video and have a go. Okay, easy peasy. First one, 500. Okay, dividing anything by 2, you're finding half. Half of the 1,000 is 500. 1,000 divided by 10, if you take the zeros off, it's 100. Okay. We know to get from meters to kilometers, we have to divide it by 1,000. So 7,000 divided by 1,007. And here we're going to end up with a decimal of 7.2. Okay, well done if you've got all of those correct, because that means that I know that you've understood that knowledge of multiplying and dividing by 1,000, which is going to be really useful for today's lesson. So, first of all, let's look at the vocab. So we've got millimeter and milliliter. Does anyone know what milli actually means? Good, it means thousandths. Okay, so milli means thousandths. If you think of a fraction, you're taking a milliliter or a millimeter as a fraction of the full amount. Okay, so 1,000th of the amount. Okay, so we'd have millimeters, which is mm, and milliliters, which is ml. So millimeters is measurement in terms of distance. Milliliters is capacity in terms of volume. So that's usually anything to do with liquids. So let's recap our number line. Now I said I was going to send a screenshot to you guys home for the last piece of work, and I didn't do that. So if you need the number lines to help you, go back to the beginning of the videos, because at the beginning of the videos you'll be able to see this slide come up and you can then pause the video. So we're going to go all the way from 1 to 10,000. Okay, that's in millimeters. Okay, if we then put that into meters, that's going to be 1 meter at a time. Okay, so you work our way up: 6,006, 7,007, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so if you ever get stuck, come back to the video and pause it here, because that'll show you your number line. Same principle applies though for milliliters as well, so they're interchangeable. Okay, so 10 meters is the same as 10,000 millimeters, and 10 litres is the same as 10,000 millimetres, okay? So that's the number line to come back to if you ever get stuck. So you'll recognise this because this was very similar for the last 2 videos that we did as well. So we go from 0 to 1, we've got 1 metre and 1,000 millimetres, and we want to know, well, what's halfway between? So we know the top one's going to be a decimal, because to get from 0 to 1 and find a half of that, it's going to be 0.5, and obviously to find half of that between 0 and 1,000, it's going to be 500. That's easy peasy. We did that on the last 2 videos. Same principle applies. Same for this one here. If we're looking halfway between any given number, we know that there's a whole 1,000 between each whole litre or each whole metre, depending on which measurement we're looking at. So we know that all we need to do is get from 8,000 to 9,000. What's half of that? Good, 8,500. And what would then be between 8 and 9? 8.5. Easy peasy. Okay, if you didn't understand that, let's have a look at it using our part whole. So we've got 8.5, because that's the total that we've got here in the middle numbers here. So we need to think, well, we've got the whole number there, which is going to be 8 litres, and then we've got our decimal, which is going to be 0.5 litres. If we now convert that into millimetres, we know that that's going to be 8,000, and we know that half of that's going to be 500. Okay, add that together, would give you the 8,500. Easy peasy, lemon squeezing. So let's work out how we're going to get from 11.3 metres to millimetres. Okay, so let's use our number line to help us. So if we go all the way from 11 to 11.5, we need to work out, well, how do we work out what the increments are here? What would they be? Good, they're going to go up in 0.1s, aren't they? They're going to go up in tenths. So 11.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5. Again, how do we get from 11,000 to 500? Well, we're going to be going up in increments of 5. We're going down in increments of 5. So you think, well, how do we get from 11,000 to 500? divide that by 5 is going to be 100. So each one is going to go up by 100. Okay, so now that we know that, let's have a look at where 11.3 is. We can see 11.3 there is the same as 11,300 millimeters. Easy peasy. Okay, now that you know that, have a go at questions 1 to 5. If you're stuck and need a bit of a recap, go back and pause the video towards the beginning so that you can see the number line there to help you. All right, but if not, pause the video, have a go. Right, let's put it into a problem solving situation here, because I think for next year, this is probably going to be our biggest focus of actually putting skills into a problem solving question. So we've got a doorway, 2.3 meters high. Okay, doorway, wherever the doorway is over there. Oh, it's the other side, 2.31 meters tall. Okay, we've got a cupboard that's 2,070 millimeters tall. My question is, well, is that cupboard then going to fit through that doorway when it's then stood upright? Okay, so first things first, okay, let's look about what we already know. Okay, we know the doorway is 2.3 meters. We know the cupboard is 2,070 millimeters. Now, already I can see I've got two different units of measurements here. We know when we do this with fractions, we know when we do this with percentages, we do it with decimals. We know that the best way to work out an answer is to make sure the units of measurement are the same. Okay, so we're going to have to do some conversions here. So let's convert it so that millimeters is down into meters. Okay, that's probably going to be the easiest one to do. So if we start with 2.3, we're going to partition our whole number and our tenths. So here we're going to end up with 2, and here we're going to end up with 0.3. So if I now transfer that into millimeters, and I've got 2,000 there, and I know that 3/10 is the same as 3 times the 10, but we know that they're hundredths, so we've got 300, okay? If I now add those together, that gives me 2,300 millimeters. We know that 2.3 is the same as 2,300 millimeters. The cupboard is only going to be 2,070 millimeters tall. So is the cupboard going to fit through the doorway? Indeed it is, okay? Because we've probably got another 930 millimeters that we can fit into there before it's going to hit the top of our door frame. Now, same principle. We've got milliliters, litres in comparison to milliliters. Now, we could put that into a fraction and turn that into litres as well, but we're comparing it here against milliliters. So the easiest thing to do is to change them all into milliliters. So here's our number line, okay? And let's plot our millimeters all the way across. We know because we're going up in tens, our decimals are going to go up in tenths as well. So if we have a look, we've got 600 milliliters down here, which is the same as 0.6. What is 4/10 the same as a decimal? This is going back to our equivalent fractions, decimals and percentages. What's 4/10 as a decimal? Good, 0.4, because that is 4 lots of 10 out of the whole. So if 0.4 there is 400, okay, we know we add that together, that's 1 litre. Now I know that 1 litre is 1,000 milliliters, and I've only got 750 there, so I know that the 1 litre is actually going to be bigger than the 750. So all you've got to do there is use your conversions, but the number lines are really helpful if you don't understand your conversions. But we have done the conversions of the fractions and decimals before, so I'm really testing some of your prior knowledge to this one here. Now, let's make it a little bit more difficult for some of you. So a large jug contains 2.8 litres of juice. Now, if the jug is full, how many lots of 200 milliliter glasses of juice can then be poured from it? Okay, so let's think about what we know. Again, we've got 2.8 litres of juice in total, and we need to see how many glasses that can fit 200 milliliters of juice in can be poured from it. Now, I already noticed the difference here. I've got litres and milliliters, so I need to do some conversion here so that I've got the same units of measurement, because that's going to make my job a lot easier. Okay, so if we have a look at it, let's convert it into milliliters, because that's what we're eventually going to have to divide by to work out how many lots of 200 we can get into 2.8. So if we did 2.8 as milliliters, that's 2,800. Now, based on the knowledge of what we already know from our 2 times tables, we know that if we took off both sets of zeros, we've got 28 divided by 2. Okay, so knowing that knowledge, what sum am I going to do to now try and work out how many lots of 200 I'm going to get from 2.8 litres? Okay, easy peasy then, just divide it. Okay, so I could do 2,800 divided by 200, but I know from my knowledge that it's the same as just 28 divided by 2. Okay, so 28 divided by 2 is 14. Okay, so therefore 2,800 divided by 200, okay, is also going to be 14. Okay, because it's units, it's a larger amount. 14 lots of 200 is 2,800. So that tells me that in total I'm going to be able to pour 14 glasses of juice from 2.8 litres. Easy peasy. Okay, That there helps there if you know your times tables knowledge. Okay, what I don't want to see is anyone then doing bus stop method. Okay, we know the cheat way there, if we knock the zeros off, we're looking at 28 divided by 2. It's going to give us the same answer. All right, so that is now the end of the video. Okay, I want you to have a go at doing questions 6 to 9 on the worksheet. I haven't sent home any challenge questions at the moment, or if I have sent home some challenge questions, have a nosing and see how you get on with them. You don't need to necessarily write any of the answers on the worksheets. You should be all right just to write them on any paper that you have to hand. Just make sure that you number them correctly. If you get stuck, go back and have a look at the beginning of the videos where you can see the number lines, because the number lines will help you. All right, and good luck with it, Year 5.